Welcome to Patrick's Travels. We discuss life in the now.
So let's try. Ready? Patrick, so when you first came to Vietnam, what was your first impression of Vietnam?
My mind was blown away because I never experienced like proper live culture outside of the UK, and it was my first time in Asia. And just I arrived in Ho Chi Minh City and I was amazed at firstly how they were using motorbikes for transport, how many motorbikes there were, how many retail shops there were, and how many Asian people there were, which sounds strange because I've never seen so many Asian people in one place, and how their culture was so different to ours. Like, my mind was totally blown how it could be so different, and how it is even possible. How was it even possible for a society to run like that?
And for me, the most, when I first arrived, was the chaos of the city.
Yeah.
That it appears there are no rules until you do see that there are some rules. I would also say that the energy of the place, the vibrancy.
No, there are no rules. It's just that people like find a way, right? Actually, it looks like there are kind of rules, and you have to be careful sometimes.
Okay. What are the best things about living in Vietnam?
So, if you're coming from the UK or any other Western developed nation, like one of the things you'll notice that the cost of living is so low, so cheap. So, for example, you can get a restaurant meal, like cơm tam, which is like rice, some pork, some vegetables, and it'd only be about a pound, or like this would be like $1.50 or so. For a pretty nice meal, pretty healthy, very quickly prepared. Whereas in the UK, firstly, healthy meals are not available in restaurants, especially at the lower price range. Secondly, you'd be paying like the same meal would be like 10 times the price, right? Which would just be like very difficult to afford. But also it wouldn't be so healthy. So the Vietnamese food they prepare is very healthy. I feel like the food is produced in Vietnam,
And it doesn't have lots of the additives and.
Exactly, like it's real food. It's real food. I mean, Vietnam does have some problems with like the supply chain, the food supply chain. There might be some chemicals you don't like, but I've never gotten serious food poisoning here. Eating out every day for like 2.5 years.
I think there are some countries you go to where food standards are lower. So whilst there isn't a huge amount of enforcement of food standards, we've never had the experience of getting food poisoning or anything like that.
Why did you come to Vietnam in the first place? What made you stay? You could have just flown home.
What made me stay in Vietnam was the excitement factor and the huge opportunities you have to do lots of other activities in your spare time. In the UK, you have to work longer hours. You also have to prepare your food in the evenings. You have to do your own housekeeping. And when you come to Vietnam, you have probably another 10 hours or so free time, simply because you don't have all those extra tasks you have in the UK.
Yeah.
So you can work on projects you want to work on.
And study if you want to study, you can study. And I think like things what things do you find in Vietnam reduce or increase the amount of free time that you have here? What is it specifically?
So specifically, I think the convenience of travel. So if you need to commute somewhere, or if you need to travel to a coffee shop to work, getting around the city is very fast. Parking is not an issue. Because it's free as well everywhere.
And there's no low emission wones here, right?
There's no less
business
zones,
here.
or less zones, whatever.
There's no new age globalist wokey era, ideological things here, right?
I would say speed of travel. If you travel in the UK, you will have to travel by car. It's expensive because you've got.
And the alternative is public transport, which is very expensive, unreliable, and I'm sorry, it's full of drones, like impolite people. And I feel that's another benefit of Vietnamese culture is people being
So
quite polite.
if you drive a car in the UK, you've got to buy the car. You've then got to have tax on the car. You've got to obviously the upkeep of the car,
Maintenance.
the fuel, maintenance,
Insurance.
insurance is very expensive, and by the time you've finished,
And getting
it's very
fined and
expensive.
getting automated speeding tickets when you're traveling like 2 miles an hour above the speed limit.
Yes,
20 mile an
it's
hour.
very confined in the UK
Very
because
stressful.
you've got, you know, they do try to catch you out. I mean, not all the time, but they do try to catch you out, and they can really catch you out for anything. So if you're in a 20 mile an hour limit and you're going 2 miles an hour over the speed limit, well, you've got three.
You're dealing with the differences essentially as like an over-regulated society, an over-regulated and slightly oppressive society in the UK versus a much freer, less unstructured, more unregulated society, right?
Although the Vietnamese, if they were much wealthier, they would
also
likely put in.
they would regulate more, but then if I'm looking at China, they also don't regulate that much either, and they're much wealthier. So I think it's just a difference in beliefs, attitudes.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember, like and subscribe for more content.